What's up, guys? Welcome back to Let's Play Gungrave Overdose. So, we've been ambushed in Chinatown. Go figure. I mean, we're not exactly known for our silent and subtle entrances. So, we're going to have to fight our way out, unfortunately. Yeah, the characters that we talked to in the previous video are never going to be seen again, unfortunately. But he did tell us about where we can find the seed that's being manufactured at the Medeslika Peninsula. At least, hopefully, that'll give us a good lead on it, at least, if we don't find it directly. He also told us about the Corsione family, which is going to be very important to the plot coming up soon here, and introduce our real antagonists. Because at this point we've just been kind of going around randomly looking for it, using the Seed Seeker, but from here on out we'll actually have real antagonists to be going after one after the other, sort of in the same style that the first game did, but with a better narrative. So, trying to go through these back alleys and everything, and breaking through these wooden barricades with the coffin. A lot of dense enemy encounters here, and we're in pretty close quarters here, so using the rocket is pretty good to take out all these guys. Random guys hanging from the ceiling. Just ridiculousness. I think some of these staircases, enemies will try to throw the exploding barrels down at you and just roll them down the staircase towards you, which obviously we don't want that. Unfortunately for these big guys, I don't have a lot of room to fight them, so close quarters nonsense with the coffin is the way to go. I'll wait to heal really quick here. Yeah, this is one of the shorter levels, also one of the least interesting looking ones, because everything is very run down. It's not very bright and colorful. You know, I think if they were to include, a Chinatown level in Gungrave, they would make it very, very bright and colorful and very eccentric looking, and it doesn't at all. It's actually quite bland. More exploding barrels here. You can't really target the exploding barrels very easily, so you kind of just have to go into burst mode or not target at all and just kind of hope for the best. Alright, out here we should have a little bit more room to fight. We're actually going to have to kill all the enemies on the other building over there before we can continue. There's lots of guys coming out of the windows, trying to ambush us that way. I'm going to switch over to a different demolition shot here just in case. We'll use that whenever it's relevant. There's a lot of guys with rocket launchers too, and obviously I'm going to try to bounce those back in their general direction. There's no real cover over here to try to heal those, so we kind of just have to... Oh, there's the barrels. Yeah, thankfully I'm going to nullify the damage from those by using my demolition shot now. And that's the rockets, which are the AoE thing. It's how I killed a mini-boss at the previous stage. And, ooh, we're bringing the whole building down. Good lord. It wasn't in much shape. It wasn't in very good shape anyway. But yeah, I managed to... Like I said, the demolition shots are not only just used offensively to deal a lot of damage, but they're also used defensively to make you immune to any oncoming attacks and also replenish your shields. Sort of how I was explaining with Sengoku Basara, the ultimate attack was kind of used to make yourself immune to damage while you're using it as a defensive strategy as well. And I mean, this is not the only game with a gauge like this. I mean, all the other action games like this, see God of War, see Devil May Cry, all those hack and slash, even like Force Unleashed or Drakengard to a lesser extent, have that gauge that you can fill up, and it's it's a very it's sort of a trope, you could say, I suppose. But this game came out before a lot of those did. I mean, this was high off the heels of really just the first Devil May Cry, and I don't think it even took inspiration from those. Red Entertainment is definitely a rare species if you look at their gaming catalog, because they really haven't made a whole lot of good things to their name, but the good things that they did make were on the PS2. It was basically the Gungrave games, and then Bulldozer, the Forsaken City, which I have that game as well. I played a little bit of it. It's an okay hack and slash game, but it's definitely very strange, and it's taken me a little while to get into. If I end up liking it a whole lot when I finish it, I might let's play that as well to sort of keep the theme going here. Because unfortunately they never made another Gungrave game after this. But I really wish they would have released a Red Entertainment HD collection. They would have both the Gungrave games and Bulldozer in HD graphics, but I guess that's the fanboy in me. They never really caught on in the US all that much. More guys in the other building over there. We can't move on until we've dealt with all of them, and unfortunately there's a lot of them. I'm trying to preserve my demolition shots here because we are going to come up on a very, very dense encounter very soon here. It's just so crazy. Like, to think about how dangerous the rocket enemies were in the first game, and now it's almost like they cause more collateral to each other than they do direct damage to us anyway. Just because of that mechanic of reflecting the rockets. Earlier I accidentally did the sort of slam move with the coffin where you put it in front of us to as a shield. And I will do that a couple more times, but never really intentionally. I still have never really found a good way to use that strategically. Oh, great. As soon as we try to leave this room, more enemies spawn in and the gate closes on us. So we gotta deal with that really quick. You will see me use that 180-degree spin to orient myself quite often, though. But like I said, I really haven't found any good use for that move. It's like a, again, it's another like shooting gallery arcade shooter kind of section with enemies sort of popping out of random doors. We get that vibe a lot from these games. Whoops, that was a careful dodge. That could have hit me directly. And probably should have. We barely have enough room to fit our coffin through the doorway there. Alright, so this is one of the most dense encounters in the game in this particular section. There's going to be multiple waves of enemies hopping from the various rooftops up to where we are. We're trying to get to the back alleys over there and meet up with Mika and the others at the truck. And if you noticed in the cutscene during the dialogue, Juji and Rockabilly said they were going to separate from us. And so I'm not sure if you play the game as them, if this is going to be a different stage. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Eventually I'll play through as them. But right now this is just, you know, a grave-only run. As we continue to fight here, the enemies are going to get that much more dense. And I'm going to try to use only the AoE attacks here, like the bullet hell move there. I forget what it was called in the first game. But that's going to be very efficient at taking these guys out. I have got no patience for you and your sword blocking my bullets. You can die now. But again, I don't want to use them too frivolously or use any of the higher tier ones because I want to make sure I have at least one demolition shot ready and available because we're going to be fighting some new enemy types later on here. I don't know what these guys are called, but they're basically giant, like, mech robot type things that have big buzzsaw blades and machine guns as well, and they're very dangerous. But we'll be fighting them a lot throughout the game, but I want to make sure I have enough firepower to deal with them when they show up, because they do not show up alone. Oh no. But yeah, I'm basically just holding out long enough to, you know, do enough damage, recharge my shields with the demolition shots, and then eventually we're going to have to hop off of this rooftop in the back alley where the truck is. Poor Mika, always caught in the middle of all this crap. Of course, the Yone family must have a lot of expendable guys, because this is getting kind of ridiculous. They're not really getting anywhere with this. Yeah, as the game continues to go on, I'm less opt to stop using my guns and start using a melee attack on the sword-using enemies, because it just seems to flow better if I just keep shooting them and hit them at an angle, especially if I have enough distance and open space to use it on, like I do up here. This is a great encounter, though. I really do like this part of the game. This level is pretty short, though, and the next part I'm not terribly fond of, but it will allow me to demonstrate some new demolition shots as well, though. Almost done. I've had to memorize the locations of where these enemies pop in quite often. Alright, now we're on to another wave here. These are the, these guys look like ninjas. They're basically a more advanced version of the large enemies, but they're a melee-based version. And there will be a version of these guys pretty much in every different variety of enemy thus forward. And they have a lot of health, but they're not too threatening. Their attacks, they're pretty easy to dodge as long as we have enough distance. If they get close, again, it's the same thing with the other melee enemies. They tend to just savage us in a corner. But, alright, here we go. Here's the giant buzzsaw robot. I tried to find out what these guys were called, but there's no information on anywhere I could that looked at. It's actually a double buzzsaw. It looks like he has like exhaust pipes coming out the top. He's pretty brutal looking. I really love the aesthetic there. It's very true to the first game with some of the mutations and weird machine type enemies. Man, of course the Yone family must have a lot of funding to be able to afford these guys. We managed to put him down pretty fast, though.
Grave, we've managed to make it to the truck.
We'll be fighting a lot more of those guys by the end of the game, trust me. Alright, down we go!
This is the truck. Enemy in circular formation.
Alright, so now we're in the back alley. And again, I think if you were playing this as the other characters, you would have a different point you'd be starting at here, or it'd be a different level altogether. But unfortunately, we have to go through more enemies to get to the truck. We're basically behind the enemy line, sort of ambushing them while they're trying to ambush the truck. So we have to make sure that the path is clear, so that when they try to come through, we'll be able to help them out here. There's going to be a very big enemy with a seeker missile launcher up there, and it fires a sort of a cluster of rockets as opposed to just one like the enemies we've been fighting. But thankfully, he's going to cause more collateral damage than he is to us, especially because we can block the. We just start swinging that coffin, and whatever rockets are headed towards us, we're just going to block. So, yeah, those missiles fire a little bit faster, and he fires a lot more of them than the standard guys. But he has a big shield too, so. They can be pretty tough, but I'm not especially worried about them. I'm actually more worried about his counterpart there with the M60. More guys just came in right now. Yeah, those guys I feel like do more damage to us because we can't really do anything about dodging bullets, unfortunately. Suspend your disbelief. We can do something about dodging rockets. It's pretty great. Trying to make use of these exploding barrels in this encounter too, but it's pretty hard because you're rarely going to get these guys at the edge of the map. I think all that's left is that ninja guy. There we go. Alright, we got it.
Now all we need to do is get out of here.
Hang on tight, everyone. I'm putting the hammer way down.
So, let me clear out the road so we can actually escape here. Unfortunately, there's these vans that come flying in full of guys. They are not letting us off easy. They're giving us everything they've got. Whatever they're hiding, they must not want us to find out what it is. So, I'm going to be taking a very specific route through this street here to try to clear out the enemies, because I basically have to keep moving in order to get to a certain point. But when the vehicle enemies come in, that's when things get tricky. There's also some bombs that will drop right here from God knows where. And again, much like the forklifts in the previous stage, when we use our charge shots against these vehicles, we can destroy them, but you got to make sure you do enough damage, otherwise it'll stay with a certain amount of health left. So, usually when I do this, I end up going to the wrong side of the street, and I end up getting run over by the vans. So, I'm sure there's a meme in there somewhere, something about white vans, but I'm not going to indulge in such jokes. Instead, we're just going to keep blowing things up because that's what we do best. It's 2004 and all that matters is you and your PS2 and you're having a good time. I'm just going to keep walking forward. Again, this would be a lot harder if we had the controls from the previous game because of how the forward walking and the lock-on feature worked, although I did kind of figure out a way that you can grip the controller where you can walk forward faster and still lock on enemies in the first game, but you kind of have to do this weird claw grip on the controller, and it's not comfortable. Alright, we have sort of a mini-boss right here against two bulldozers, again with the construction equipment and the random vehicles as enemies in this game. It doesn't really let up. We'll get to more like supernatural and anime-style enemies as the game goes on, but right now we've got to deal with bulldozers. So, unfortunately, they're very, very, very powerful. I would like to demonstrate the Tier 2 bullet time here, but actually, I've already demonstrated that. We'll use something else. So they have a certain amount of health for the actual scoop on the front, and then a certain amount of health for the machine itself. So I'm going to keep side-strafing here and trying to destroy it as best I can. If you mess up here and you end up getting cornered by one of these things, it's basically going to kill you because you can't get away from it. And every time you get back up, it just staggers you and knocks you back down again. You would think that most enemies are designed to where you can't get stuck in an infinite loop like that, where you can't get up. But occasionally it does happen. I mean, this game is well designed overall, but sometimes it does happen. I'm going to be using the Tier 2 AoE attack here, the rockets from the back of the coffin as well. That managed to do a lot of damage to them and clear out all the other enemies, so I don't have to worry about the other enemies right now too much. I'm just going to continue to do more shoot dodging and side strafing to get rid of these guys as fast as I can. This section is pretty hard. I actually died in this section during a test run at one point. Alright, that one is almost out of health. Obviously I want to destroy the one that is closer to being destroyed sooner, because that'll give me more room to maneuver when fighting the second one. Managed to destroy part of the actual scoop on that one though. Again, charge shots are pretty good against these, but it's just having enough time to actually stand still and charge them and not deal damage is not reliable. I wish you could walk and do the charge shots at the same time. That would be great. But you have to stand still to actually release the combo. See, this is what I'm talking about. You get back to them to the corner and they just destroy you. There we go. All the fire and flames of one of the bulldozers has been destroyed. So the truck is waiting there patiently for us to clear all this crap out before we get done here. One more rocket. Restored some of my shields there so I can keep fighting. We're almost done. Ha! Managed to catch him in the crossfire there. Alright, we got him. One more shoot dodge to put enough bullets on the thing. And that's the end of the Chinatown stage.